Let's get into this first story. Wow. Bay Area NBC station is running report questioning the circumstances of Paul Pelosi's hammer attack, which include the same details as today's show segment retracted for inaccuracies, and left star reporter Miguel Almaguer, as I pronounce it, suspended. This is particularly interesting. They say NBC News is under mounting pressure to explain its actions after suspending star reporter Miguel Almaguer over one of his Today Show segments on the Paul Pelosi hammer attack. It took the action despite a second report on the company-owned and operated NBC Bay Area station that repeats many of the same points in Almaguer's report. They're going to mention that NBC removed the footage from its website hours after airing on November 4th. Now, we do have another report from Fox News, and this is what they mentioned that's very, very interesting. I want to read this one. NBC News national correspondent reported on November 4th for the Today Show that police didn't know they were responding to the Pelosi residence. Pelosi opened the door for police, but didn't attempt to escape or declare an emergency, and even walked away from law enforcement and toward his eventual attacker. They go on to mention, last Friday, exactly 1 week after Almaguer's report was mysteriously retracted with little public detail, NBC San Francisco local affiliate, which is branded as NBC Bay Area, aired an explosive report with highly similar details indicating Pelosi opened the door for police and didn't immediately attempt to escape. So, the initial story, someone broke into the Pelosi residence, screamed, "Where's Nancy?" in his underwear with zip ties, and struck Paul in the head. Now, then turned into, he was actually clothed. Okay, a third man opened the door, but we don't know who it was. They changed the story again. And now, the Today Show comes out and says Paul Pelosi opens the door, doesn't try to escape, walks back to the guy who says there's nothing going on, and then who strikes him. And now the story is being confirmed after the Today Show retracted, not even formally retracted, just deleted the video. I have to wonder what really happened. Of course, the theory from the right is that it was a late night either drug deal or love romp gone wrong, and the police responded, and lovers quarrel of some sort. I think drug deal makes more sense, which is why they're look, it's 3 a.m. Paul Pelosi's like, send in the crazy weirdo guy who's got the drugs. Fight breaks out over cash or something like that. Who knows? Or maybe the police didn't know they were responding to Paul Pelosi's house. They opened the door and they attacked Paul Pelosi because he was in his underwear. And they assumed it must be a crazy guy or something. Maybe the cops are the ones who hit him, and then they're trying to cover up their story.
I feel like if the cops hit him, we would be seeing like Defund the Police Part 2 right now.
Nobody knows what happened.
Well, it sounds like two drunk dudes at a bar. Like, just, how people can get belligerent late night when they're both really hammered and they don't even know what they're talking about. The one guy just gets angry and then they're like, "Ugh," and then they just start to bump into each other. Like, that's what it sounds like David and Paul were doing.
Well, personally, I'm just sick of the speculating. I don't want to speculate anymore. Release the body cam footage. Release the surveillance footage. Then we could actually know what happened here. Otherwise, you don't give the government any benefit of the doubt. We're talking about career criminals who parade themselves around like some high-level politicians and officials. They're not. These people are up to some really nasty stuff. We're talking about so much corruption within the Pelosi family. We're talking about so much money that they earned off of America's back. They're probably, when it comes to government officials and people connected to them, we should always think the worst possible scenario. Always go with that until we actually have some actual evidence. They were doing unspeakable things to small babies. They were sacrificing children. Let's just go with that. If we're going to be speculating what happened here, let's think of the worst thing, because we shouldn't be giving government any kind of credence, any kind of leeway here. And with this story being so crazy insane, they were doing god-awful things to small babies. That's it.
I just assume the worst, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And you should with government, because what government does is probably usually a lot worse than what we actually know actually really happens.
But Paul's not government. He's only government adjacent.
Government adjacent. Well, that's just as bad.
That's just as bad. How did he make all of his money?
Yeah, really.
Because of his connections to government. Obviously,
allegedly.
It's pretty clear.
Yeah.
Allegedly, it's not even alleged. They make better calls on the stock market than Warren Buffett. Okay, you don't get that lucky. It's impossible to be that lucky like the Pelosi's have been. So come on, we know what it is.
Maybe this guy, this DePop guy, was his inside source on Wall Street. And that's how he was making his money.
And he was telling him to invest in FTX. And Paul was like, no, you screwed me.
That's the problem, is that we're able to speculate on this story. We're able to sit here and try to figure out what happened. And how did everybody get in their underwear, and why weren't the cops there? And the third in line to the presidency,
How did everybody get in their underwear?
Yeah, where did the hammer come from? And I can't believe that nobody is selling hammers online, like the Paul Pelosi hammer.
But it's pink and it vibrates.
Right, yeah. And help you win a chess match, perhaps, if you deploy it correctly.
It's some insider humor here.
Yeah. But that's the thing. All of this speculation could be over with if the government released the body cam and released the actual information that is out there and give us the clear story. And we are not getting the clear story.
Because this is Paul
once
Pelosi.
Again,
is this an excuse for Nancy to retire and try and score points? Like, I don't understand.
It seems to
what
me like
happened that they're trying to cover it up.
It really seems to me like it was something that went wrong. Like you said, maybe it was a bad drug deal, or they were getting weird together. Who knows? And then the cleanup team came in. They were just like, all right, what are we gonna do? We gotta make this look like something. And then the script writers came in and said, all right, well, let's make it like this. Because think about how much power is being wielded by these people.
And many times Hollywood does work with the Pentagon when it comes to scripting narratives. We have seen time and time again, something happens in Iraq and they're like, okay, what can we say actually happened? What really happened? Those are two completely different things. How can we use this event and change it for the best PR purposes? We saw that with Jessica Lynch. We saw that with mainline Hollywood directors and producers getting involved and saying, you know what, this story of the Iraqis taking her to a hospital and trying to help her doesn't really fit our narrative. Let's send in the tanks and let's say that they were holding her hostage. Again, they made so much things up when it came to war. They make so much things up when it comes to just our everyday life. Everything from them should be seen as fake. Nothing should be believed by government or the authorities until we actually have some real life evidence that we could back up their statements on, because they are pathological liars, satanic individuals, some of them that do awful things that we can't even imagine how terrible they are.
Okay. I'm sitting here and I see this story and it's a crazy story. And I'm trying to figure out why whatever it is they're doing matters so much they don't want anyone to know about it. Like they suspended a star reporter from the Today Show for reporting what now sounds to be fact. What is so important about this moment, this incident, that they don't want us to know about it? This is the crazy thing. Because I kind of look at this and I'm like, whatever Paul Pelosi's doing, I don't care about, right?
Yeah.
But to go to this degree, it sounds like something they were doing must have mattered, like politically or something.
I think it's an effort to fend off who these people really are, the depravity. They just don't want their true colors to show, even though we all know it. Obviously, this man abuses some sort of substances or something going on. These people are not on the up and up.
At least booze.
Yeah,
from what we know about publicly on the record.
He got busted driving drunk like within 6 months ago or something, and that's a problem. If someone, especially when they're 80s, is driving home drunk enough to get... Yeah. I mean, not even drunk enough, just drunk in general. I've driven drunk a couple times in my life. It was probably some of the worst. I was like near suicidal at that period of my life too. Like step on the gas and just wait for it to happen, kind of suicidal. And that is a bad state of mind to drive drunk. If someone's like, if you don't have that kind of self-control where you can be like, actually I have to drive, I'm going to put it down. That indicates a big problem psychologically. So I imagine the guy's got obviously some problems.
Look, the midterms. This happens right before the midterms.
Yeah.
They pull the story. After the midterms, story pops back up on an NBC affiliate. It could just really be, it makes the Pelosi's look freaky and weird, and it was bad for Democrats. Republicans were running the story that there was a gay love romp or something, and they wanted to shut it down. So NBC colluding, or seeking to help, maybe not colluding, Democrats pulls the story until after the midterms. That could be it. It could really be as simple as Paul Pelosi's a weirdo who does freaky things in the middle of the night.
Yeah, I think that's for sure. I mean, not for sure, but I think that's the case.
But the connection to January 6th, see how it's connected to January 6th. He walked in there and was saying, where's Nancy?
Yep.
Where's Nancy? Oh, well, of course he was saying that.
That's another point.
That's all those people are going to hear. That's all the libs are going to hear. Like, oh.
But so the question is, did they twist an existing story to make it sound like insurrection?
Sure.
Or did they fabricate a story to try and win points before an election?
I think it's exactly what I said before. Something happened. The truth happened. That was something that has to do with depravity. Nobody broke into that house. Nobody just broke into that house, started walking around with a hammer held up in the bathroom. That's craziness.
The story keeps changing. So at this point, I'm not inclined to believe what their version is.
Yeah.
And the fact that Paul Pelosi was not threatened when the cops answered the door, and that's the new detail now being confirmed. Clearly, he knew this guy.
There's got to be cameras in that house, right?
There is.
If that dude was running around in his underwear going, "Where's Nancy? Where's Nancy?" We would see it over and over and over.
Yeah, that's true. That for their propaganda purposes, they would of course weaponize that footage and have it everywhere, so we couldn't ignore it. We would have to see it everywhere. And we saw the corporate media after this being like, "It's the conspiracy theorists that are the problem here. They're the ones that are crazy. They're the ones that we have to stop. They're the ones that we have to go over. We have to make sure that people can't be able to speak to each other." And now they're punishing journalists like this Miguel reporter. By the way, this reporter, Miguel Alamargar, hasn't tweeted since November 4th. He's the one that got suspended for originally reporting the story, which we talked about on this show, that was specifically based on police sources. What's happening to him? I want to hear from this guy. Miguel, if you're out there, what's going on here? Because this is absolutely crazy what kind of story you're involved in.
I'll tell you about conspiracy theories. There was a tweet. I can't remember who. I saw this was a verified Twitter account saying that Putin is pushing an insane conspiracy theory that the missile that hit Poland was Ukrainian. We can't allow Russian disinformation, blah, blah, blah. Sure enough, turns out even the West is now saying exactly that. So we'll definitely get into the Ukraine stuff in a minute, but I just want to point that out. When they come out and they're like, it's a conspiracy theory, don't believe it. Typically that means, I better look into that because you can't believe these people. Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.